You'll be surprised by the mistakes people make when buying a house. A few you would never know until someone told you, and a few are pretty obvious. But people still make them regardless. Hey guys, it's Yash again. I thought I'll change it up a little bit this week and give you my honest take on the mistakes to avoid when buying a house. So here goes. So let's get the big one out of the way first. You start looking for a house before getting your pre-approval. Skipping this step can cost you a lot of time and money in the future. Think about it. It's like going for grocery shopping without getting your wallet. You're not gonna go far. I see a lot of people make this mistake and think that they can process all the paperwork in the future, but it's not the case, as it takes a lot of time for your mortgage agent or mortgage broker to process your application. It can take anywhere between a week to 2 weeks, depending on how fast you are. So yes, getting your pre-approval is your first step forward when you start looking for a house. Think of it as a dry run for your mortgage approval process, and it lasts for 3 months when you get it. Also, it gives you a higher chance of your mortgage being approved in the future as opposed to doing it last minute when you put an offer in. Now let's move to the next mistake people usually make: maxing out your mortgage or your affordability. This is a big one I usually see people make. Now, your mortgage agent or your mortgage broker will give you a higher ceiling of what you can afford. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to take it or maximize it. Now, I usually suggest that you take a moment to factor in all your expenses and your lifestyle. Don't let your mortgage agent tell you how much you can afford, as you are the best judge when it comes to your own affordability. So make sure to talk to your realtor about other alternatives in the market before committing to a house. Also, while we are at the topic of affordability, make sure to have at least 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses saved up, because you never know what life may throw your way. It can be for general maintenance or repairs which you would never foresee. And trust me on this, being house poor is no fun. So let's move on to the next step: not planning ahead. You'll be surprised by the number of people who don't plan ahead when buying a house. The sticker shock on closing costs alone sets back a buyer by at least 2 to 3 months. Here's a breakdown. There are 2 factors to consider. One, you already know, it's the down payment. For a first-time buyer, you need 5% of the first 500, 10% from 500 to a million, and 20% anything above a million. The second factor usually surprises all the buyers, and it's the closing cost. Typically, you need 1.5 to 2% of the purchase price for a closing cost. Now let's take Ottawa for example. An average home in Ottawa costs $650,000. And here's a breakdown of all the closing costs you will be expecting if you plan on buying a house for $650,000. And while we're talking about planning ahead, make sure to utilize your RRSP and your FHSA when you're saving for a house. Now moving on to the next mistake: not fixing your credit score. I know, I've been there and I know how stressful it is when you start planning to fix your credit score. But it doesn't have to be. You can always talk to your mortgage agent or your financial advisor at your bank to get a roadmap on how you can fix your credit score. This will definitely help when you start planning to buy a house. Also, I've left the links in the description for a buyer's guide if you're planning on buying a house anytime soon. Now moving to mistake number 5, waiting to save your 20%. Now I get the idea of not paying the CHMC fee when you invest 20% towards your down payment, but that's when the home prices are relatively stable over a long period of time. We don't have that luxury, do we? Here, let's take the same example of a $650,000 home in Ottawa. You like to save 20%. That's roughly around $130,000, which might take you 2 years, just to save the CHMC fee of around $10,000 to $15,000. Now let's say 2 years have passed, and you saved the $130,000 you wanted. But the home prices have increased from $650,000 to $675,000, maybe even more. So you'll be paying a higher price for your home just to save the initial $10,000 to $15,000 of CHMC fee. So make sure to analyze the current market scenario to make that decision. Now moving on to mistake number 6, lowballing during negotiations. This one's a pet peeve of mine which buyers often make. I get the thought process of paying a fair market price for a home you want to buy, but lowballing has never worked in my opinion. And let's be honest, it makes you look bad from what I've seen. Sellers would usually have a number they would like to sell their house at, and lowballing is not going to achieve it. Alternatively, what I would recommend is that you ask your realtor for comparables in the neighborhood to give you an idea of what a fair market price is, along with a sound negotiation strategy to get to a desired purchase price. And if you're planning on buying or selling a house in the Ottawa region, then make sure to reach out in the description down below to book an appointment with me. Now moving on to the last mistake which buyers usually make is not following their home inspectors. Now this mistake can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Home inspectors can share a lot of real life information when it comes to the condition of the house. They can also educate you on all the regular maintenance required and guide you through the entire process. I've seen cases where buyers don't show up for the inspection and get scared when the 50 to 100 page inspection report comes in. This confuses a lot of buyers and doesn't give them a perspective of what's important and not. which ends up costing tens of thousands of dollars. So make sure to follow your home inspector during your home inspection. Well, there you go. These are the 7 biggest mistakes to avoid when buying a house. I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.